In the first figure, this is page 2 of 1.6 notes. In exercises 1 and 2, we're going to use the figure. It says name a pair of complementary angles. So complementary angles were two angles that did what? They add up to 90. So what two numbers in this picture add up to 90 degrees? 49 and 41. So we're going to name them. Let's name the 41 degree angle first. Can I name it angle G? No. What can I name it? FGK. So on my screen, I don't know why the K is missing, but on your paper at least you got it. Alright, so we said FGK for the 41 degree angle. We want to name the 49 degree angle. What can we name that one? So we could say GKL, we could say LKG. What else could we say? Angle K. Because it's the only angle at this vertex. Angle K. Then we want supplementary angles. Supplementary angles were angles that did what? Add up to 180. So what two numbers here add up to 180? 131 and 49. Good. So let's name the 131 degree angle first. So again, I can't name it angle G because there's two angles at G. Well, what could I name it? Ooh, that was a lot. Jonathan, what do you want to name it? Sure, KGH is correct. And then you could also name it HGK. Same thing. So that's the 131 degree angle. We also want to name the 49 degree angle. So what can we call this one? We could say LKG, GKL, or angle K. Any of the above. The last asks for adjacent angles. When we're listing adjacent angles, are we looking for numbers? No. What do adjacent angles do? They share a wall. So what two angles share a wall? FGK and we'll do this one first. So FGK, and then what are we saying? HGK. We might have been saying it. I'm just slow at registering things today. All right, the second question, according to this diagram, are KGH. So KGH. When we list that, what angle, what number are we looking at? The 131 degree angle. So this angle. Yes, dear.
Couldn't GKL and FGK be adjacent as well?
You said what? GKL.
FGK and GKL.
FGK and GKL are not. We're about to talk about it actually.
Oh, okay.
It's not the same exact question, but it's pretty close. So we'll address it. It's no, and I'll tell you why. So what are we saying? We're saying our KGH and LKG, which is this angle, are they adjacent? So it's very similar to what you're saying, I think, Alana. This is a no. The reason is, remember the textbook definition? They had to have a common vertex and a common side. So which of those is it missing? The common vertex. So no, there's no common vertex. And then the other two, these are awkward as well because it says FGK, which is this one, the 41 degree, and then FGH, are they adjacent? They are still not adjacent because they need to have a wall between them. They don't have a wall in between them. So when I say they share a wall, remember that's always been sandwiched. So 41 and 131, they shared this wall between them. But these two don't have a wall in between them. So this would be a no. No, the shared side isn't between them. however you wanted to write that. The next two, it says angle 1 is a complement of angle 2. Complement means two angles that add up to 90. So I know one of them is, the measure of angle 2 is 5 degrees. So how do I find the measure of angle 1? Subtract 5 from 90. So the measure of angle 1 is 85. Good. Then the second, angle 3 is a supplement of angle 4. The measure of angle 3 is 148. So supplements mean they add up to 180. So we're going to subtract from 180. So the measure of angle 4 is 32 degrees. This next question, I would highlight it because it's definitely on your quiz and it's definitely on your test. I think it gives you like a door frame is complementary angles or something ridiculous. I don't remember. But either way, it's a word problem, and we're talking about complementary angles where you don't know the angle measures. So highlight it so that you remember to look back at this. But this problem tells me angle LMN and angle PQR are complementary angles. So what does that tell me about them? They add up to 90. So the measure of angle LMN plus the measure of angle PQR will equal 90. That's what that first sentence tells me. So then from here, we plug in, what is the measure of angle LMN? 4x minus 2. And the measure of angle PQR, 9x plus 1. Alright, so we combine like terms. 4x and 9x make 13x. Minus 2 plus 1 is negative 1. What do I do next? Add 1. So 13x equals 91. Divide by 13. And x equals 12. 10 times 10 is 100. So 13 times 12 is well over 100. It's 7. Do I circle that? No. So make sure you're only circling your final answer. Here we want to find the measures of the angles. So we're going to find the measure of angle LMN. We're going to do that by plugging in. So 4 times 7 minus 2. 4 times 7 is 28. Minus 2 is 26. And the measure of angle PQR, it used to be 9 times x plus 1. So 9 times 7 is 63, and then plus 1 is 64 degrees. How can I check if I'm correct or not?
64 plus 26.
Yeah, 64 plus 26, which makes 90. So perfect. Go ahead and flip. Our next example is at the very bottom. Remember, yesterday we learned all the terms, and then today we're just applying them. So it says identify all the linear pairs and all of the vertical angles in the figure. So linear pairs first. So linear pairs were two things. They were adjacent, right? They share a wall, and they were supplementary. And how many angles are we talking about when we have linear pairs? How many are in a pair? 2 angles. So 2 angles that form 180. So 2 angles, basically they look like a straight line with an angle coming out of it. So look like that. It could look like that. But the main thing to find is the straight angle they form together, and then you can identify what 2 angles are sitting on that. So if you look at our picture, all of our angles have the same vertex. We want to find a line that would go straight through the vertex. So, like this one, just as an example, we all see it as a line. It goes straight through our center. Let's look at the top. How many angles are on the top? There's 3 angles. There's this one, there's this one, and there's this one. So whenever you're envisioning this, think of like a pizza. This would be 5 slices of pizza. They would be very large slices, but they're 5 slices. So on the top, there's 3 angles. So none of them are a linear pair. A linear pair are 2 angles that start and stop on the straight line. Some of my first hour were like, well, what about 1 and 3? Here's the problem with that. Angle 1 represents this. Angle 3 represents this. Is that the entire 180 degrees? No, it's not the whole half. So 1 and 3 are not adjacent either. So they definitely couldn't have been linear pairs. Linear pairs have to be adjacent, and they have to represent the whole half. Okay, so 1, 2, and 3, we're not even looking at those. You can look at the bottom now. Are there 2 angles that start and stop on the line? There are. 4 goes from here to here, and then 5 goes the rest of the way. So angle 4 and angle 5 are linear pairs. So we just talked about this straight line. There's one more that goes through the center vertex, right? So again, on this side, there's 3 angles, so you're not going to have a linear pair. But on this side, you've got 2 angles. So your other linear pair are angle 1 and angle 4. Angle 1 and angle 4. All right, and then last, vertical angles. Vertical angles are formed by 2 straight lines. Every single time. It doesn't matter the picture. So here we'd want to only look at the 2 straight lines. This one we didn't talk about. If you notice it doesn't go straight through the vertex. So we just ignored it. We're going to ignore it again. Look at our 2 straight lines that go through the center. This helps us outline the vertical angles. What 2 angles are vertical? 1 and 5. Angle 1 and angle 5. I did hear an angle 4, but here in this case, there's not going to be, because it would have to be this whole angle. So 4 would have to be vertical to all of this, but all of this is separated by 2 different angles. So the only answer is 1 and 5. I believe we flip. I want you to highlight this question too. It is also on the quiz and the test. And it's not going to change very much. The only part of this question, this word problem that's going to change is the number, like that number. The words are going to be the same exact thing on the quiz and the test. So, here's what I recommend. It says 2 angles form a linear pair. I would just draw a linear pair. So you can visualize. What do I know about the angle measures of a linear pair? They add up to 180, right? So that means this angle, whatever it is, plus this angle, whatever it is, will add up to equal 180 degrees, right? All it tells me is that the measure of one angle, let's call it this one, because why not? This one. The measure of one angle is 5 times. So when we say 5 times, does that mean 5 plus, 5 minus, 5, and then multiplying, okay? 5 times the measure of the other angle. Do we know the measure of the other angle? No. So what do we call things in math that we don't know? We call it x. So here, x represents, I have it in blue, x will represent the measure of the other angle. You've got to know what x represents, or there's no point in having an x. So 5 times the measure of the other angle. So all of that, the measure of one angle, we're calling it this one, is 5 times the measure of the other. So this angle is 5x. It represents 5 times the measure of the other angle. So 5 times the measure of the other angle. But what do we call the other angle? X. The most common mistake, and I'm telling you right now, it's the one I see every year. They forget to name the other angle. So one of them is 5 times the other angle, which we call x. And then one of them is the other angle, which is x. So when we do this equation, it's going to be 5x plus x. It represents 5 times the measure of the other angle plus the other angle. They'll both added together equal 180. From here we solve. What is 5x plus x? 6x. It's okay. If it were multiplying, that would be correct. Divide by 6 and x equals 30. Make sure we are listening and not just checking our watches. X equals 30. The other one would be 5 times 30, which is 150. How can I check if my answer is correct? They should add up to 180. So I was talking on the same track. The most common mistake that I see people do, I'm just going to write it down here. Most people do, 5x equals 180. Here's why this would be incorrect. If you take 5x and set it equal to 180, you are saying one angle, which is 5x, you are saying that one angle is 180 degrees, which is not true. The two angles added together equal 180. So make sure in this problem you do not forget that x. Okay? I believe all we have is this diagram at the bottom. This is interpreting a diagram. There are some things you can conclude from a diagram and some that you cannot. For example, here are some things that you can conclude from the diagram below. So it says angle DBE and blank are adjacent angles. There are 2 answers to this. So every angle has two sides, right? So what is the first one? ABD, good. So on the DB side, angle ABD is adjacent. On the EB side, EBC is adjacent. The last thing that you can conclude from the picture is a straight angle. It doesn't tell us in the directions, but how can you tell a straight angle is a straight angle? Because it's straight. So if you question whether something looks straight, you can take a sheet of paper, which is straight, as long as you didn't cut it yourself, and then you can line it up and say, it's a straight line, so that means it's a straight angle. So what angle here is a straight angle? ABC. ABC. Now we're going to talk about things you can't conclude. When you first see this picture, I'm sure you notice this angle. Your brain wants to tell you what about this angle? That is 90 degrees. That is the right angle. But is there any proof in the picture? There's not. So you can't just say it. So we're going to write, we want to say the measure of ABD is 90, but we don't know. It doesn't say it. It would have that box where it would say ABD is a right angle. So I'm going to put a question mark because, again, we don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. But from this picture alone, we cannot conclude. And then the last one that we can't conclude, it does drive me a little bit crazy. Y'all remember how when lines intersect, they're not going to put a dot there? This is point B. A lot of students, I'm not saying you, but want to say B is the midpoint. But is there proof in this picture other than your brain saying, oh, well, B looks like it's in the middle, so it must be in the middle? There's no proof here that says that it is the midpoint. What would be on this picture to show that B is in the middle? Yeah, your 2 dashes. If they were there, then yes, B is the midpoint. But if they're not, then you can't just assume. All right, now we go to the worksheet. So we're going to go to number 13. It says the angle 7 and angle 8 are complementary angles. Angle 7 is equal to 2x minus 4. And angle 8 is 3x plus 14. Find the value of x. So what was the most important piece of that information? Complementary. So that told me that the measure of angle 7 plus the measure of angle 8 equals 90. So the measure of angle 7 is 2x minus 4. The measure of angle 8 is 3x plus 14. And they equal 90. All right, we're going to combine like terms. So we've got 2x and 3x, which makes 5x, minus 4 plus 14, positive 10. All right, my next step. Subtract 10. So 5x equals 80. Divide by 5. And x equals 16. Did I answer the question? I did. Yeah. It says find the value of x. Ta-da! We did it. This next one you'll do by yourself. We're going to flip to the next page. We're going to do 15 through 20, and then I will let you work with a partner. So up at the top, they're just reminders. Supplementary angles add up to 180. Adjacent angles, they just share a wall. Complementary angles add up to 90. Linear pair are both adjacent and supplementary. Vertical angles are formed by, the reason I rewrote this is helpful to know how to find them. Vertical angles are formed by straight lines. So you want to find 2 straight lines that cross in order to identify vertical angles. And then, they're congruent and all that. So, number 15, name an angle vertical with CGD. A way to see it is vertical angles are formed by 2 lines. So that means each of these rays that form the angle should be on the straight line that form the vertical angles. So CGD, what is it going to be vertical with? FGE. Good. Number 16, name a vertical angle with FGC. So again, vertical angles should be sitting on 2 straight lines that intersect. Vertical angles will be across from each other, so it'll be this one and this one. So what would we name this angle? DGE. Angle DGE. This next one has a lot of answers. It says name an angle adjacent with EGA. So adjacent just means they share a wall. So let's name angles that share a wall with this one. We could say EGD. Yes, ma'am. I'm getting there. Hold on. Notice how it does say name and. So there's just one you want to name, but I'm going to name a bunch just so you know a bunch. You could also have EGC. Same thing, EGB. Okay. On the other side, you would have angle AG. You could have AGC. You Could also have angle AGB. Could also have angle AGD. There's a lot. Number 18, FGE and blank are a linear pair. So FGE. Remember that linear pairs, they're supplementary. They form a straight angle. So that means one of these sides would have to be on a straight line. So you could name this angle EGD. A lot of people try to name the straight line itself, but you can't. You need to name the angle that forms this straight angle with the one that's listed. Name an angle complementary. What does complementary mean? That to 90. And again, we normally would have a right angle box. But here, they just want you to verify with this side of the corner of your paper. You can always find right angles. So here, we're talking about CGB. So you want to see if one of these sides forms a right angle. So like this side, there's no right angle over here. But this one, okay, it forms a right angle. So we're looking at this right angle, but you can't name the right angle. We want to name the second angle that when combined with BGC forms that right angle. So we want to name AGB. And then the last, it says name an angle supplementary to FGE. We've actually already answered this. Where did we already answer it? Yeah, number 18. It asked for what the linear pair was with FGE. So FGE and EGD form 180 degrees. So from here, you can work with a partner. I'll walk around and check your answers. Remember that page 1 and 2 are due when you walk into class tomorrow. I see a lot of you are almost finished with it.